The Oza podcast is brought to you by Triumph Protective Coatings. Triumph Protective Coatings is a construction company specializing in epoxy flooring and concrete resurfacing systems. They service the LA area and the greater LA area and counties. They speak Spanish, so you don't even have to worry about that. They speak Spanish. You can follow them on Instagram, Triumph_Coatings, on Facebook, Triumph Protective Coatings. You can visit their website, triumphprotectivecoatingsca.com, to get a free quote. And you can also email them. So many ways to get in contact with these guys. You can email them at triumphprotectivecoatings@gmail.com. And so if you tell them Arrows Up sent you, you get a 15% off on your next project. They do beautiful work on the floors, on the walls. Their stuff is incredible. Check out their Instagram for all their work. They do amazing work. Couldn't be happier to support them. And they sponsor this podcast, so they're extra awesome for that as well. So check them out, use them for your next project, and you will be satisfied. On this episode of the Arrows Up podcast, we have a return of the pod. We took the summer off, and we're back as kids are back at school here at LAUSD, and I'm sure in other places as well. So shout out to LAUSD, where I got my education. And so they're back in school, so we're back on the pod recording. And so today, I want to just get you up to speed where we're at in the world of sports. What are we doing? What's happening? Baseball has been in full swing. It's been here all summer. College football is a week away or so. The NFL is coming as well in a few weeks. And then football is back, as it came back this weekend. And so we're, ramping up as September comes, October. And then basketball. Basketball's coming. Basketball's like sneaking its head. And it's like we get in full swing of Champions League and football and football and we're wrapping up baseball, and then basketball kind of just pops up. We're like, hey, I wasn't ready for you to be here. And it's just like, hey, I'm here. What are you going to do? And so, basketball always pops up on me because it's always like, wait, it's basketball season already? I wasn't ready for basketball. And but that's the way it goes. So much sports happening, and so many sports are active right now, which is incredible, amazing. So just want to get you up to speed where we're at, mainly with baseball, because this is the time where I think most people start to check in, and depending on where you live, depending on the team you support, if your team is good, you start kind of being like, hey, should I start getting into it? Should I start wearing my gear? What's going on? And so kind of want to get you up to speed. So that's what I have for you today. Hope you enjoy. So that's it. Here we go. Welcome to the Arrows Up podcast. On this episode, baseball. That's what we're starting with. We are want to get you up to speed as to where we're at with baseball. It's been an interesting year. It's been very proud of Harry and I, because when we talked about baseball and we did the preview pod, we nailed it when it came to the American League and what we were expecting. Harry was wrong about the Braves. He thought the Braves were going to bounce back, and they definitely did not do that, as they are second to last place and just having a miserable year. They've won 8 of 10. So if you're a Braves fan, you're saying like, hey, we at least have that. And sure, you at least have that. In the American League, though, it's wide open. It's as wide open, I think it's been since I can remember. And so what we have, we'll start in the American League West. We'll start in the Central because that's the division that's kind of pretty much wrapped up. Both Centrals, they look like they're pretty much wrapped up as of August 18th. And so what we have here with the Central, we get Tigers who are leading the Guardians, and the Tigers, I think, from start to finish, have been the best team in the American League. They arguably have the best pitcher, and I say arguably because I could make the argument, and I would make the argument that Crochet is better, but arguably the best pitcher in the American League, and honestly probably in all of baseball, in Skubal. And they got Baez, who's playing really good baseball again, and they just have a team filled with professional dudes that are just getting the job done. AJ Hinch has done a phenomenal job leading that team, as honestly we all knew that he would. And so this is a really great story, and the Tigers have everything to get back to the World Series, really, because if you're any of these American League teams that are going to make the playoffs, the World Series is a very realistic possibility for you. And so it's why I thought that the trade deadline was so important this season, because if you were one of these American League teams that could go for it, this was going to be the chance for you to win the pennant and get to the World Series. And so when we look at the American League, the Tigers, I think, have to be the favorite, not prohibited, but just the favorite, just because they've been the best team all year long. And then we go to the West, in the American League West, you get the Astros, who are a game and a half ahead of the Mariners. And the Rangers are 7.5. They're kind of just like, far away where, you can forget about them, but close enough where if Houston or Seattle have a horrible September and the Rangers are able to make up ground, they're in the mix. And the Angels are just kind of like, they're the Angels, first of all. So no one's expecting anything, and I'm not expecting anything. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs or anything, but they're 9 in a game. They're 9 games behind, and again, it would take like some insane type of just collapse from the Astros, Mariners, and Rangers. But they're just away enough where you're just like, wait, what, the Angels are there? Is that the Angels? Is that an A that I see in the distance? In terms of the wild card, they're 7 games behind, and so it just and this is all like the Angels find a way to play like they played those 3 games versus the Dodgers, and they could find themselves as flirting with the wild card. But what this is going to come down to, and then in the East, before I go into it, in the East you get the Blue Jays, who've been the best team in the American League East for a while. The Red Sox, who've been really good at home, so on the road. Overall, I think have one of the best lineups in baseball, and their bullpen has been a disaster, as we saw yesterday. Not a disaster. That's unfair. Inconsistent. It's been inconsistent. As we saw the last 2 games versus the Marlins. And the Yankees have not been good. The Yankees started off really well, and I remember saying like this is fool's gold. They're not this good, and they've kind of just reverted back to baseline, as they're a sloppy team, and they have a better bullpen post trade deadline, but it's still a very sloppy team. And what this is going to come down to, and we can even look at the National League, because I think this affects them as well. Phillies, who have kind of just not played the best baseball, but because the Mets have been playing awful baseball, they have a comfortable 5-game lead over the Mets. And September is definitely going to be the tell-all for that division, although I don't see the Phillies losing that division. You got the Brewers, who've been the best team in all of baseball over the course of the last few months. They had won 14 straight up until yesterday when they lost to the Reds. But they have control of the National League Central, 8 games ahead of the Cubs, and they are probably going to end up with the best record in all of baseball. And then you get the West, the Dodgers, who we're coming into this weekend just kind of limping, and it was like, man, what's going on with the Dodgers and what's happening? And the Padres were showing up, and the Padres had taken 2 or 3 from the Sox, and they had swept the Giants. I was like, man, the Padres are good, man, and their bullpen is lights out, and wow. And then they get swept by the Dodgers. Because of course they do. And they get swept by the Dodgers, and the Dodgers just own the Padres, just own them mentally, have the edge against them, and you could just tell as you're watching these games, so you just know, like, man, the Dodgers have no fear of this team, and the Padres just can't get out of their own heads. They on Saturday, for example, they ran into 3 outs on a just stealing bases, and it's just, you had 4 hits, I think, in the first 2 innings, 0 runs. The Dodgers had 3 walks, and they had 4 walks, 3 runs, and it was just like, man, just the capabilities mentally when you're there, just failed the Padres, because and it's just the way it is when a team owns you mentally. It is what it is. I saw this with the Lakers and the Nuggets over and over the last few seasons, where it didn't matter how well the Lakers played. It didn't matter that the Lakers played them close. It's just the Nuggets just were able to pull the games out. And as a fan, you're watching, you're like, yeah, we're not gonna beat this team. We can't beat this team. And you almost saw the players like in that same mode where Jokic started hitting shots and Murray would hit a shot, and you just saw the Laker players just kind of like, here we go again. And that's what you saw here versus the Padres Dodgers this weekend. And so the Dodgers leave the weekend up 2 games. And so what this is all going to come down to, what this is going to boil to, and I think the most important thing to look at is strength of schedule. And you have to look at this because this is what, over the next, month and a half of the season, the team that has the easiest schedule is most likely going to be the team that gets the standings, the results that they want. And so what we have, so we'll start in the American League, and we won't do the Centrals just because I think those divisions are pretty much wrapped up. But in the American League West, for example, you get the Astros and the Mariners, and we'll include the Rangers just because they're just within distance. But you look at the strength of schedule, and the Rangers, we'll start with the Rangers, 3rd place. They have the 7th toughest strength schedule left. And the 7th toughest schedule left, as they are playing 3 versus the Brewers, 6 versus the Astros, 3 versus the Mets, 6 versus the Guardians, who are still feisty and still in the race of the wild card, and they get 3 versus, and they get 4 versus the Royals. So all teams that are going after it in terms of the playoffs, and the Brewers might be easier, depending, just because they have it wrapped up, and teams tend to start getting ready for October once they know that they're gonna be in it. But this is a tough schedule. You get 10 versus Cleveland and KC, and now Cleveland and KC may not be awesome teams, but they are teams that are in contention to make the playoffs, and they're fighting for your spot. And that's where these games become even tougher, because they're going to go for it in a way that the Astros and the Brewers might not, in a way that even the Mets might not, because the Mets will probably have a secured wild card spot. And so that's one. They got 7th toughest schedule. And then you look at the teams in there who they're fighting against. Seattle has the 21st toughest strength of schedule, and you get the Astros who have the 26th easiest strength of schedule. So when you look at this is just a huge disadvantage for the Rangers. And if you're Houston, this is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to take hold of that division, take hold of your spot, And honestly, you have the opportunity to catch up even to the Tigers, as the Tigers are, as you try to get the number one seed in the American League, because the Tigers have the 20th toughest schedule remaining. And this is what I've been looking at over the last few days, because this is what's going to tell us how a team is going to be able to get to where they need to get. Who are you playing? Because that's how these things are built. We can look at all these metrics. We can look at all these stats. We can look at home and road splits, and we can look at all of that. But ultimately, it's going to help if you're going to play the Nationals 6 times and the Braves 3 times. It's going to help for someone like the Mets. It's going to help, for example, if you're the Dodgers and you're trying to get into the playoffs, and you got the Rockies and the Pirates and the Orioles and the Diamondbacks and the Giants, and that's who you're going to play the bulk of the games that are left. It's going to help. It's going to help for you to clinch it. If you're the Yankees and you're chasing the Red Sox and the Blue Jays in that division, it's going to help that you have the White Sox for 7 games, the Nationals for 3, the Orioles for 7, the Twins for 3, and the Rays for 2. All that helps, And so when we look at the way that the matchups are set up, this is, I think, the big deciding factor. And so it's why I think that Houston has the best opportunity to hold on to these and hang on to these. Now, it's not just strength of schedule, but it's also when you play. Like the Yankees, for example, have end the month versus the Red Sox. They get a tough meet of what's left of the next 6 weeks, tough. And then the last two weeks of the season are a lot easier for them. And so that's where you almost have to stay alive in the middle. And then you make up all the ground towards the end. It's the same for them. It's the same for the Mets. And if you do that, if that's the way you're going to attack it, then that's a great opportunity to do it. Now, in the East, I gave you the Yankees. The Red Sox are, almost in the middle. 18 toughest strength of schedule. 3 versus the Blue Jays, 3 versus Detroit, 7 versus the Yankees, and 3 versus the Guardians. Now, this is as you're chasing the Blue Jays, who have the toughest schedule remaining. This is where the ground gets made up, as you play them 3 times and you have to take 2 of 3. You have to hope that the Yankees take 2 of 3, and you just kind of begin to chip away. But the Blue Jays having a tough schedule helps the Sox, helps the Yankees, and because this is the time of the year where you become the fan of your team and the fan of whoever your rival is facing. And so as we look at the National League is going to be super intriguing, especially the West, because the Dodgers and the Padres have the 2 easiest strength of schedule left. The Dodgers, I told you who the Dodgers play. This is who the Padres play. The Padres play 7 versus the Rockies, 3 versus the White Sox, 3 versus the Orioles, 3 versus the Twins, 3 versus the Diamondbacks, and 4 versus the Giants. And the Padres have a tougher one just because they play one more team that's better in the Brewers. They get 3 versus the Brewers, and this is just This is why the series this weekend was so important for the Padres, and they face them again this upcoming weekend in San Diego, and that becomes the most important series of the entire season for the Padres, because it's the last series, but it's also your last chance to kind of get the Dodgers out of your head. It's your last opportunity for you to kind of get yourself off the mat, because the Dodgers own you at this point. The Dodgers don't see you the way everybody else sees you. They don't see your bullpen the way everybody else sees your bullpen. And so for the Padres, you have to go into this week knowing, almost demanding of yourself, we have to sweep these guys. We have to take 3 from them, because that almost evens everything out, as it is also the last time you'll see this Dodgers unless you play them in the playoffs. And so when we look at the road to October is paved by what's left of this remaining schedule. And as we look at this, we end up finding just this beautiful roadmap to get there. And if you're the Dodgers, the Padres, the Yankees, and the Astros, as you're in the top 5 of the easiest schedules left, that's the roadmap. That's what you use to kind of climb and get to, if you're chasing the Tigers, you're chasing division, whatever it is, that's what you do. And on the other side, if you're the Dodgers and you're chasing the Brewers, who find themselves with the 6th toughest schedule remaining. This is the push. This is the push that you have. This is how you're able to kind of get back into it. The Phillies are the 14th toughest schedule. But even the Phillies, as you push and you chase after the Brewers, it helps that they're going to play a tougher schedule than you. And so that's the roadmap. That's where we find ourselves. Now, I think things stay pat in both centrals. I think Brewers and the Tigers stay. I actually think the Blue Jays hang on to that lead, just because they're more consistent, and they've been more consistent than the Red Sox and the Yankees. In the West, I just trust the Astros more. I get the case with Mariners. I get their pitching. I get their offense is finally good and all that. I get it. I just trust the Astros. I just trust them more. I just trust the pedigree and the institution, and I'm gonna ride with them as the games get tighter and things get tougher. I just trust them to figure things out more so than I do the Mariners. And in the West, I think the Dodgers proved this weekend that this their division to lose, and I don't see the Padres beating them because the Dodgers aren't going to give that division away. And I think this weekend was huge for that, because I think it showed us and it told us everything we needed to know about that rivalry, supposedly, between the Padres and the Dodgers, which is interesting, because when you think of rivalry, you think of equals. You think of these two teams that are going at each other, and what you get is really two teams that view each other very differently. And it's almost like the madman quote or the meme, I feel bad for you. Like, I don't even think of you at all. And that's what it is. The Dodgers are like, I don't think of you at all, man. And the Padres are just like, I hate you. And it's just, they're not in the Dodgers' radar. And that was very evident this weekend. And that's where we find ourselves as we head into one of the second to last week of August. And so as we head into this week, very interested to see how these teams are going to begin to manage towards the end of October. Because if you're the Tigers and the Brewers, for example, you are able to begin maybe possibly, as the magic number gets lower, start thinking of October. And you start to set your rotation up for October. You start to call dudes up. You start to give guys rest. And then the other teams, like the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Astros, the Mariners, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Phillies, the Mets, they don't have that luxury. And you almost are forced to push your guys even more. And that becomes like a disadvantage sometimes, or even it becomes an advantage, because you've been playing this win or lose baseball for a month and a half, that you kind of just get in that mode, and it's just like, dude, let's go, man. And where some other team who's already wrapped everything up has to ramp up, and when you're trying to ramp up versus a team that's going all the way and they have the gas pedal all the way to the ground, it's kind of hard to get it back into it. And we see this all the time in the baseball playoffs, and that's why we get so many wild cards to make the World Series, because these teams have been just fighting for their lives for the playoffs since late August. And so by the time they get to October and it's just, hey, it's win or go home, it's like, dude, we've been playing win or go home games. and the other team is like, hold on, let me catch up, and it's just too late. And so the strength of schedule is huge, and it's a big deal because that's what's going to dictate where we end up and how the seedings end up in these playoffs. Now, that's where we're at there. Can I kick it? Yeah, I could kick it. Let's do English Premier quickly. We had the beginning of the English Premier this week, and it continues unto today as we have the Leeds United and Everton playing in the last game of match day 1. My beloved Manchester United, who were the better team, quite frankly. We're the better team on the field. We had more shots on target, more possession, more amount of passes. Our accuracy was better. We had less fouls, less bookings, less offside. If you look at the stat sheet, and I didn't tell you the score, and what do you think the score was? He went to, it was like 3-0. And it was 1-0. Arsenal gets their goal in the 13th minute, and that was it. And United couldn't. They got into the box. They were able to get into it. They were able to create opportunities. They just couldn't get the ball behind the net. Now, I didn't understand why Bruno Amorim didn't have a striker in there. We played Cunha at the top, which I don't understand. Why we didn't play Xerxes or even Šeško. I know Šeško just got there, but dude, like, how do we not have a forward up there? So that didn't make sense, to be quite honest with you. But I like how the team looked. The team looked strong and energetic, and there wasn't this. With the last few years, it was just like a lack of energy in the Manchester United side that always just made you feel like, dude, like, do you guys care, man? And it became a thing where it was just like the pride of Manchester United was gone from these players, and that wasn't evident yesterday. These guys cared. These guys were going for it. Just couldn't get the ball behind the net, and that happens sometimes. But it was encouraging from that standpoint, and we'll see how we respond. As this season, I think we have the capabilities to end top 5. And honestly, even in the top 4, I think, depending on how the season just bounces and how we play throughout the year, especially because we don't play any games in a European competition. So it's a great opportunity for us to kind of make every game the most important game. And you get these domestic cups that, you know, are going to be huge in order for us to get some titles and stuff and trophies. But we got Fulham next week, and these are the games that we need to start winning and start grabbing these points. But it was encouraging to see us be better than Arsenal yesterday morning, because it was just a good indication that this team is headed in the right direction. Now, in terms of the rest of the Premier League, from what I saw, Liverpool Liverpool's going to be a nightmare. Manchester City seems to have gotten their mojo back. It seems like they're back, and Arsenal, it's one game. I get it. Just they were not that impressive, to be completely honest with you. In La Liga, Barcelona is going to be really good. Lamine Yamal and Vinny are going to chase the title for the biggest complainer in La Liga. I don't know what we would call that, but maybe the Luis Suarez Award. and that's what we're gonna. That's what they're gonna be playing for. Real Madrid plays Tuesday, so I'll have thoughts on Real Madrid. But yeah, look, Barcelona's gonna be good. Atletico, I think it's hard to say this is a make or break year for Atletico, just because they're a team that kind of keeps everything the same, and they've had just the same type of establishment over the last few years, and for a long time now. So, and I get it. They're a team of consistency, and they're not going to just move things around just for no reason. But it is something that to look at. If they lose their first game 2-1 versus Espanyol, and it's just tough because you spent so much money. You've spent money over the last few years. You get Diego Simeone, who's, I think, he's been there such a long time. And this might be the make or break year where you're spending all this money. You're trying to compete with Real Madrid and Barcelona, and you're just not getting the results that you need to get there. And I think it might be time. It might be time for Diego Simeone to leave. And it might be time for him to go somewhere else. And so I think that's what's tough about a team like that. That's not a gigantic association, or a gigantic club, because the pressures are different. The club is viewed more, it's a pride thing, and and you see this in soccer a lot, where these clubs it's more about the tradition and the people and all that, and that's fine, that's great. But when you look at the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids, the Manchester Uniteds, the Liverpool's, the bigger clubs, the Juventus, it becomes about winning. And it's cool, man. You're a club legend. You played for us. You've been here. You took us to 2 Champions League, but you haven't won anything. So it's kind of time for you to go. And Diego Simeone has been there since 2011. So 14 years is a long time. They spent a lot of money, and I think this might be the make or break year for Diego Simeone with Atletico Madrid. So that's one thing to monitor as well. And I think Diego Simeone will find a job in like 5 minutes once he leaves Atletico Madrid, because he's a great coach. And so that's where we're at. That's where we're at in the world of football. I have one NFL thing, and that's it. I was hearing this thing that Kyle Shanahan had for, he was getting interviewed, and they were asking about this roster, and he was saying how his goal was to just get this team to the playoffs. And when you look at like just where the Niners are, and I don't know if you look at betting odds or whatever, or you just go on Twitter or TikTok, whatever, and you're going to get an array of just predictions. You get people who are saying, no, the Niners are going to suck, and they're going to be third in the division, and they're not good, they're down year again for the 49ers. You get people like, no, they're going to win the division. You get people like, dude, they're going to be like have one of the best records in all of football because they have the easiest schedule. And then you get people who are like, they're going to win the Super Bowl. So it's all over the place. And Kyle Shanahan said, we're just trying to make the playoffs, man. We've replaced so many guys, and when you look at the roster, obviously, you think of, you see Fred Warner and Kittle and McCaffrey and Bosa, and you say, dude, you guys are stacked. And when we think of football stacked, we can't just go by the 5 names that we recognize. We have to just kind of go through and see, okay, how many of these guys are actually good. Now, the 49ers have a good roster, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we don't have a good roster. I'm one of the ones that think we can actually win the Super Bowl. But it's interesting to hear Shanahan kind of temper the expectations for everybody, because he's in there every day, but also just his understanding of like, man, this is hard, and we're replacing a lot of guys, and we're relying a lot on young guys. Now, the Niners did a good job of hitting on their draft picks last year, and they're going to have to hit again this year. And this is how these championship windows are kept open and are reopened over and over again. And that's going to be the key. Can the Niners find more success within the rookies? Can, Ricky Pearsall take another step forward as he ended the year well? Can McCaffrey be 85-95% of who he was 2 years ago? Can the 49ers O-line stay up? Can they protect Purdy enough? And that's my biggest worry. When I look at this team, my biggest worry is is the offensive line. Can our offensive line be good enough to give Purdy the time to open up the holes for McCaffrey? Can they be good enough? I think the defense is definitely going to improve from last year. A defense that just was awful in the run, had no energy, had no juice, and at the very least, Robert Saleh is going to bring in juice, and it was refreshing to hear Kyle talk about the 49ers in that sense, because I think it helps. At least it helped me to kind of reevaluate and say, okay, the goal is to make the playoffs. So once you get the playoffs, I think we could play versus anybody. But it kind of just like, okay, this season, the first 18 are about development and finding out who you are. And it's a lot like what the Pats used to do. And you hear Belichick talk about just like the road to the Super Bowl. And it's like, dude, every week we're just trying to figure it out. We're trying to see the team we were. We're trying to improve on this, add that. So, you're not a finished product by week 5. You're a finished product by the Super Bowl. And you're still like tinkering and dealing with stuff. And that's the championship team. And so it pumped me up to hear that. So, yeah, that's my one NFL thing. I'll have an NFL preview in a few weeks. So stay tuned for that. Now, my final thought. My final thought is this. We had the Little League World Series is in full swing, apparently. And one of my brothers, shout out to Koto, he sent, we're in a group chat, and he sent this text. I'm trying to find it. Oh, here you go. He says, that little Mexican pitcher, Acevedo kid, collapsed as soon as they scored a run. And I responded, I don't think the Little League World Series should be televised. I think it's child abuse. Now, the reason why I say that, I think it's child abuse because when you think of sports, sports are a beautiful thing. And I love sports, and it teaches you so many things: how to be a leader, how to be a good teammate, how to be a follower, how to play your role. Sometimes you learn playing sports. You know what? Like, I'm not a follower. That's just not my role, and it's okay. I'm a supporting player, and that's huge and crucial. In a world where everybody, there's like, never be a follower. It's like, I don't know, man. It's kind of good to be a follower. Like, it just depends who you're following, But if you're following someone that's great, someone that's awesome, yeah, man, be a follower. Especially if you don't have the capabilities to be a leader. I don't know who needs to hear this, and I don't, not everybody is born to be a leader, and that is okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's okay. This is your little truth bomb for you on this Monday morning. But when we look at the road to professionalism and the professionalizing of youth sports, I think has ruined youth sports, especially here in the United States, because it's brought this arrogance and this pride on these kids way too early, where you get these kids that are 10, 12, 13 years old who are being treated as professionals by their coaches, who have them play all these ridiculous amounts of games a weekend. These parents who are pushing their kid because they don't see their kid as their kid and as a blessing, but they see their kid as a golden ticket out of whatever situation they're in. And you get this professionalizing of youth sports, that these kids are being put in this pressure, this added pressure that they shouldn't be put in. Sports already teaches you how to deal with failure. Sometimes you're going to lose, and it's going to be your fault. And you're going to make a mistake, and the other team's going to take advantage, and you're going to feel awful. You know what you don't need? You don't need cameras and millions of people watching you, and you having to go back to school, and people showing you how you're on Instagram and you're on X. Like, dude, what happened here, man? And you started crying. And it just completely derails little kids, man. And that's why I think it's child abuse, because I think we're putting on a pressure, and we're turning up the pressure cooker on these kids at an age where they should not be experiencing it. Let them enjoy, let them learn, let them grow through the pains and the joys of sports, because sports will give you that. You're going to make a dumb play, and you're going to make a mental mistake, and you're going to forget your covering assignment. You're going to make a bad throw, and it's going to lead to you losing, and you're going to lose, and it's going to be your fault, and you're going to like have to deal with it. And on the other side, it teaches you to be a good teammate. Be with your boy, be with your girl that has just made a mistake, and you're still going to stand with them because that's your teammate. You're going to show them mercy. You're going to show them grace because you know what, that could be you. And you maybe last time you made a mistake and they were right with you, and it teaches you to be a good teammate. But if you add the component of all these televisions, all these people watching, you're getting recorded, and the conversation that your coach is having with you is being recorded, all of a sudden it just adds this level, this element of pressure that I think it's unfair to put on kids. So that's why I think it's child abuse, and I don't think we should televise youth sports. I think we should scale it back and walk back this culture of professionalizing youth sports. That's my final thought. So that's it. I'll be back on Wednesday. Hope you enjoy baseball, enjoy the soccer, enjoy it all, man. Enjoy your coffee. I'll talk to you later. That's the pod. Thank you to Angel. Thank you to Triumph. Thank you to you for listening. You can follow us on Instagram. You can listen to this pod anywhere you get your pods, so please rate, review, and subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram at Arrows Up. And so, as I will put videos on the daily there, and you can check them out. And yeah, man, we're back Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, talking all things sports and Christian worldview stuff. So all of it. Stay tuned for it. September's coming, and with it, tighter baseball playoffs, football, Canelo. Can't wait. So let's do a roll call. And let's get you started on this Monday edition of this podcast. Two things. Let's go Sox, as the Sox should have swept the Marlins, didn't sweep the Marlins. The bullpen had a blow up back-to-back days. Thankfully, we were able to hang on Saturday, not so much yesterday. But let's go Sox as we play the Orioles today. Viva la Máquina, 3-2 win versus Santos on Saturday. We were like rolling the first 25 minutes, and then the game evened out. We were able to pull it out at the end. Glory, Man United, tough loss versus Arsenal. We got Fulham though, so it's fine. And Hala Madrid, we're back. Game Tuesday versus Osasuna. Should be able to win that game. Take care of business. That's the roll call, man. So let's have a good week. Let's go after it. And if you're a Sox fan like me and enjoying everything, I'm very positive, very hopeful. We got the Orioles, the Yankees. Very hopeful. Let's go Sox.